old gods have risen, ancient, furious, and hell-bent on reclaiming the realm of men. This time, it is not just the living who fight, but God itself.
A united army gathers at the foot of the wall. Stark banners fly alongside Targaryen and Baratheon. Daenerys stands near Drogon, whose scales have darkened.
Jon approaches her, away from the others. "We've stood on opposite sides before," Jon said softly, his breath visible in the cold air. Daenerys touched his arm gently. "And now we stand together. Perhaps that was always our destiny," she replied, her eyes meeting his. The strange egg from earlier rests in a special cradle nearby, pulsating with energy. "The egg is the key," Daenerys explained. "Not a dragon, but something that can help us. The Valyrians didn't create dragons. They bound them, transformed them." Jon's voice was contemplative as he asked, "And what of us? Have we been transformed too?" A small smile played across Daenerys' lips. "For the better, I hope," she answered, as she hesitantly covered his hand with her own.
The dragon and the wolf, once enemies, now the last defense against the long night's return.
Neither spoke what both knew, that dawn might never come again.
Drogon lets out a thunderous roar that echoes off the wall. In the distance, a faint blue glow begins to spread across the horizon.
And so they waited, as countless others had waited before them. For winter's legacy was not just death and darkness, but the light that stands against it. Beyond the wall, the Ancient One prepared for war. Not as a mere shadow of winter, but as something far more terrible. Your kind forgot what dragons truly were before the Valyrians tamed them. The ice being told Tormund, its voice like cracking glaciers. "Before fire there was ice. Before light there was darkness," he whispered. The ice being's body cracks and expands, its humanoid form breaking apart as something much larger emerges. The cavern walls shatter as an enormous ancient ice dragon unfolds its massive crystalline wings. Its eyes glow with the same blue light, but now its body is covered in translucent scales that reflect and refract light in terrifying patterns.
"Seven hell," Tormund whispered, awe and horror mingling in his voice as he beheld the transformation.
The ice dragon roars, a sound of shattering glaciers and howling winds. Ice spreads rapidly from its feet, coating everything in its path.
The first men had called it the Great Winter Wyrm, a creature of legend, of nightmare, not born of fire like its southern cousins, but of the primordial ice that existed before the dawn of time. The battle has reached Winterfell. The forces of ice attack.
Jon, Daenerys, and Gendry fight together near the Heart Tree.
Suddenly the sky darkens. An unnatural cold sweeps across the battlefield as a massive shadow passes overhead.
Even the dead had feared it, this ancient terror from before the long night. Now it had awakened once more. The ice dragon lands with devastating force, crushing soldiers beneath its massive claws. Ice spreads rapidly from where it touches the ground, freezing everything in its path.
Behold the true face of winter, the first dragon, the last dragon. The thing wearing Bran's face whispered to himself. The ice dragon exhales. Not fire, but a stream of crystalline frost that freezes and shatters anything it touches. Soldiers caught in its path become frozen statues that crumble to dust. "Dracarys," Daenerys commanded, her voice ringing clear above the chaos. Drogon roars in challenge and takes to the sky. The two dragons circle each other, fire and ice, ancient enemies. Drogon unleashes a stream of fire more intense than ever before. The flames strike the ice dragon's flank, causing it to shriek in pain as part of its crystalline body melts and cracks.
The dragons clash in the battlefield, tearing at each other with teeth and claws. Shards of ice and drops of burning blood rain down upon the battlefield.
The battle was lost. Jon knew it in his bones, felt it in every labored breath that escaped his lips in clouds of mist. The Northern Army, what remained of it, was being slaughtered. Stark bannermen who had followed him loyally now lay frozen at impossible angles, their eyes wide and unseeing.
With each step toward the Godswood, memories assaulted Jon. Not his own, but older, carried in his blood. Memories of the first men kneeling before the heart trees. of pacts sealed in blood and magic, of promises made when the world was young. The voice that called him was not one voice, but thousands, echoing through time. The egg, Daenerys' supposed weapon, had shattered uselessly when the ancient god emerged. The armies of the living were falling. Even Drogon's fire seemed dimmer against this primordial cold. All their plans had failed. All except one that Jon hadn't known he carried, written in his very blood. Stark blood, first men blood, blood of winter. Your gods are dead, it said, its voice no longer brands, no longer human. Your dragons fail, your steel breaks. Winter has come, Jon Snow, and it will never end. With nothing left to lose and death certain, Jon surrendered to the pull of the ancient magic. His hand found the heart tree's trunk, his blood mingling with its sap, and suddenly he understood. The old gods had been waiting, not for a hero, not for a warrior, but for a sacrifice, for blood freely given.
There must always be a Stark in Winterfell, Jon whispered, the old words taking on new meaning, his voice growing stronger despite his wounds. I am the North, I am Winter. Daenerys Targaryen had spent her life chasing fire. Dragon fire, the fire of conquest, the burning light of destiny. She had never sought the cold magic of the North, had never understood these strange gods with their bleeding eyes and silent judgment. Yet watching Jon Snow kneel before the ancient weirwood, something stirred within her, an understanding older than houses, older than kingdoms. Daenerys reaches Jon just as he seems about to collapse. She catches him with surprising strength, supporting him as his blood continues to feed the tree. And there must always be fire to balance the ice, Daenerys added, her voice steady despite the pain. She pressed her bleeding hand beside his on the weirwood's face, her Targaryen blood, the blood of old Valyria, of dragons and fire magic, mingling with his Stark blood on the ancient bark. In that moment, they were not queen and king, not aunt and nephew, not even Targaryen and Stark. They were simply the vessels of something greater, the human embodiments of forces that had shaped the world since its beginning. Fire and ice, life and death, creation and destruction. Opposites that could not exist without each other, enemies that were secretly kin. Where their blood mingles, the bark pulses with both red and vibrant purple light. The heart tree erupts with blinding light that spreads through its roots. The power surges upward, engulfing Drogon in the same glow. The dragon's fires burn even brighter, now mixed with the red light of the weirwoods. Drogon's next blast strikes the ice dragon directly in the chest. A massive crack spreads across its body, and blue light pours from the wound. The ice dragon shrieks in pain and rage. For the first time in millennia, the Ancient One knew fear. The power of the first men and the magic of old Valyria combined as never before. The ice dragon flies away, toward the lands beyond the wall, its damaged wing causing it to list to one side. Its retreat is not graceful, but desperate. A wounded predator fleeing a greater threat. They had not merely won a battle, but turned the tide of a war. The ancient enemy had been driven back, wounded by what it never expected, unity where once there was division. The battlefield is now still. Jon lies pale at the foot of the heart tree with Daenerys kneeling beside him, her hand still entwined with his. Ghost limps to his side. Jon's eyes open. The ancient dragon retreated, but it lives. I felt its pain through Drogon, Daenerys whispered as she helped him sit up, her hand still in his. Jon's determination was unwavering. Then we'll be ready when it returns, he vowed. Together, Daenerys affirmed, the single word carrying the weight of their shared destiny. Jon looks around at Winterfell. Where the battle raged, small green shoots are already pushing through the snow where the ice had been. The first signs of spring. The maesters always said, the longest winter brings the most bountiful spring. Daenerys observed, hope in her voice for the first time in years. Jon and Daenerys walk together to the edge of the Godswood. The morning sun illuminates the castle and the lands beyond. Areas once frozen now glisten with melting ice. Drogon lands nearby, his scales bearing new scars from the battle, but his eyes alert and watchful toward the north. What happens now? Jon asked, looking at Daenerys in the golden light of dawn. Her answer carried genuine hope, a sentiment almost forgotten in their world of constant struggle. Now we create something new, together. Winter had retreated. But spring had finally returned to Westeros, and with it the promise of a new beginning.